Well, hey there, it's Elka.
And Jen, and welcome to another episode of the Creative and Ambitious Entrepreneur Podcast. And today is a very special episode because it's our 50th episode, which is amazing. And today we're going to be talking about how to do 7 figures in sales on Zazzle.
And we're going to do it by celebrating 4 of our own students because they have, since they joined our coaching program and our training program, the Profit by Design Academy coaching program, they have exceeded their expectations and achieved their dream goals, which is to make 7 figures in sales on the Zazzle platform. And each of these people had issues before when they didn't have the training and they didn't meet us and didn't get our coaching, and now they are just rocking it. And this is the beginning, not the end, because that's just the beginning of their journey, and we're so excited for them. So we're going to cover a couple of things. First of all, why is reaching 7 figures in sales important? Because, we're going to go into that in a lot more detail, and there is a reason for it. And then the second thing is we're going to talk to you about each of the 4 students that we want to highlight today. And then we're going to talk to you about what they have in common and what is different about them, so that maybe you can really even relate to some of these students and go like, maybe I could do this. That's really important. And then we're going to get into the deep dive of how to get 7 figures in sales. Now, we're not going to give you a business marketing plan here because these students spent over 3 to 4 years making this happen for them. So it's obviously not going to happen in a 20 to 30 minute podcast episode, but we can give you the what you can do and what you need to do, highlights, high level picture, so that you can really understand what's involved. And it's not easy. That I'm going to point that out right from the beginning. Every one of these students should be celebrated like heck because they have done the work. They've done what's needed, and they've put the time and effort in to make it happen for themselves. So this is part of what you need to understand in your Zazzle journey to success, if that's what you want to do, or in any business for that matter. You have to give it your all, and you have to do the work. It's not that, even though we talk about doing 20 hours a month on Zazzle, and that helps you, like that's enough to get everything done if you do the right strategies and steps and implement the roadmap that we have for you. But it's still the time invested in intentional work that gives you intentional results. And that's the key to these 4 students. They really rocked this. They understood it. They got it. Yeah. So let's get started.
Okay. So the first point is, why is reaching 7 figures so important?
Do you want to take this one?
Okay, first of all, on Zazzle, if you are a Zazzle designer, you've probably heard of the Pro Designer program, where it gives you the different levels in terms of your earnings and your sales when you reach a certain level. And when you hit $100,000 in earnings, so income coming to you, and at $1 million in sales, which is really cool. It is when you become a Gold Pro Designer. And that means that you've obviously made $100,000. And so then you have that gold status. And so we have 4 of our students who have recently hit that gold status. And myself and Elka have also, she's actually a Diamond Pro Designer, which is way
I'm
higher.
working on my triple diamond.
And I have surpassed goal as well many years ago, and so it's a really cool accomplishment when you hit that $100,000 in earnings, lifetime earnings in U.S. sales mark, and you become a Gold Pro Designer. And it's special because, first of all, you get that gold status, but then also just to actually understand that you finally made $1 million in sales on Zazzle and you've earned $100,000.
Like that just blows my mind, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're on your computer, you're in your products are right next to things like Disney and whatever else on the platform. And all of a sudden, like, you yourself as a designer have made $1 million in sales. And this is all based on our assumptions that the royalty that these 3 designers are using, for the most part, is 10%, just so you know, because that's what we do. We use 10% royalty. So if we've earned like 100,000, that means we've made 1 million in sales, right? Because that's 10%. And so that's part of it, right? And but just let that sink in a little bit, because a lot of people forget, like, they look at the money that they get in, but they forget that it's the royalties that you're getting paid out, and really the the what people talk about when they're talking about their business, they're talking in dollars of revenue, not dollars in profit or take home. The way you talk about things, like if you're a Zazzle designer and you go, well, I made $1,000 this week or this month and I got paid out $1,000, that actually means that you sold $10,000 worth of product if your royalty is set at 10%. And so it blows your mind when you get that to that next level of sales where it's $1 million. Like, hold on a second, I think this is a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that leads nicely into our second point, which is like you've reached that invisible ceiling of whether it be $1 million in sales, because that just seems like, ooh, wow, that means it's true. I have to actually be responsible now because it's a real business, or even just like I've made $100,000. That's probably more than some people make a year. A lot of people actually, the median in Canada, for example, is I think around 55K for the average annual income. So that's like double our average annual income. I don't know what it is elsewhere in the world, but you can look it up and you can go like, wow, okay, so by being on the Zazzle platform and selling $1 million worth of product, I can actually be like double the national average of earning income. And that changes everything, because then you realize, okay, first of all, you've hit that sort of ceiling that you thought, well, that would be so awesome if I could ever make that much money. But on the other hand, it also means that, well, that's possible.
Yeah.
On a platform that you didn't even think you could make a couple $100s on, right? So it's like, let's go make some more money.
Yes.
Okay. What's the next part in that why reaching 7 figures is important?
Well, now your hobby has become a business. And I know that's silly. Like, it might not seem real. For me, when I first started out on Zazzle, I thought it was sort of like a game or something fun to do in my spare time, right? And
Pocket money,
yeah,
right?
And when you become, well, hopefully before you hit $100,000, but you take it to be your business now, not just a hobby, not just something that you're having fun with on the side. It's actually become a real job, and you actually put time and effort into it and make sure that you understand how you can take strategic action steps for your business and help your business grow. And it's not just something that you do on the side anymore. It's actually become a real thing.
Yeah.
And it actually, some of our students have actually retired, or they've become like full-time Zazzle designers, and they've quit their day jobs just because they're now actually making the money that would help them obviously replace their 9-to-5 job income, right?
Yeah, and also it means that there's new opportunity for you, new hope, like a different direction. Well, that's what made us that was a switch for us. Was now it's like, oh, okay, so this is my new normal, and I don't have to do that. Like Jen said, people retired or didn't have to stress so much about their other job because they've got this extra income coming in. And it allows you to also be really proud, because it means that you've created a business that has generated enough income for you, and it's not just a one-off thing, right? It's going to be more often. But it's that first milestone to get that, because you're going to hear in a couple minutes that 3 of our students, they reached that as a lifetime earning. So for the whole 3 years they've been working on Zazzle, it's been like they finally got to 100,000. Whereas one of our students got to 100,000 in 2020. So in 1 year she made that much money. Now that's the most important thing to understand, that once you start to make that money, you can make more of it. And we can't make any income claim statements, but this episode's all about money. So let's just get that right on off the table here, that everything here, the results are true and accurate because these people exist and they've made this much money, and they're so nice and generous for us to be able to talk about them and let you understand that these people are real and this is the dollar amount they made, because money's kind of private, right? Most people don't want to talk about how much they make, and so we're really thankful for these students to let us talk about them. But the other thing is that we can't make any income claim statements to say that you would do the same. No, I don't know. That's up to you. But the thing is that these students were not making very much to start with before they met us, and before they joined the Profit by Design Academy, and before they got the coaching. And then they started making money slowly over time, And in some cases, like Christine, in the last year, 2020, she made 100,000. And that wasn't a one-off. It wasn't because she sold a gazillion masks. It's because she's built her business up over time. She also started with us back, so she's been with us now almost 3.5 years. But now she's aiming for $200,000 this year.
Yeah.
And so this is possible, but you have to build the foundation. You have to have the strategies in place. And that's what we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But we first want to highlight some of these students to some degree, just to help you get a feel for, like, are you even one of these people? Like, could you do it? Like, is it possible for you? And I don't know. But by giving you some information about their stories, hopefully you can relate and go like, I think I could try this. I think I could do this. And that's the most important thing, is to be able to believe in yourself that you can do this. And then if that's the case, then you're going to figure it out. You're going to, either do it on your own, figure it out, or you can save time by getting a course that works, that others have used, that have made a really big headway into achieving the goals they want, and also getting coaching, which is really important if that's what motivates you and inspires you to keep moving forward and actually attaining and achieving your goal. Where, if you can do it on your own, go for it. But if you can't, then these things should be on your radar that say that I believe in this, I wanted this to happen, and I've got to make it happen. How can I make it happen for me in the time that I want? So either fast and get the training, or slowly and do it on your own. Like, because we took 14 years to really figure it out to get to our 1.5 million in earnings. And that means we've sold $15 million worth of Zazzle products, just to be clear. I know that we talk about this a lot, but seriously, that even now still seems like a crazy number. It's like, is it really real? You have to, every so often we go to our Zazzle earnings, we go like checking the commas to see if it's really true. But yes, of course, I received that money over the last 14 years, and so did you. But it's something that it's really important that you understand that there are possibilities out there for you, and you just have to decide whether you're going to go for them or not.
Yeah.
These 4 people and a lot of other people who we want to talk about very soon, because they're like at 87 or 90,000, and they're just about to get there. So then this group is going to get bigger and bigger. But the key here is that, do you want to be in this group? Do you want to be here? Do you want to be in this $100,000 club? I would. If I heard this when I was first starting out and I made $90 in my first year, I'd be like, heck yes, I'm here. Like, sign me up and tell me what's going on. And we did do that. We said in the forums, we used to say, well, can you help us? Because we want to learn. And there weren't very many people that were helpful. And even if they were helpful, and this is no offense, but they weren't helpful in a way that allowed us to make the money that we needed to make to get to 7 figures in sales. That we had to figure out by ourselves. But now we're doing this by training others, and we don't hold back. And so this brings us to the 4 students. And so do you want to talk about Brendan?
No, you go for it. You say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon is a really cool guy, because he said, I've got a really busy day job, but I take pictures on the side, and this is how we met. He goes like, can you help me figure out how to...
stock photography.
Yeah, he used to do stock photography. He still does, I think. But he goes like, I'm not making enough money off of that anymore. Can you help me with the Zazzle platform? Because I want to use my photography. Now, he's since used many more things, not just as photography, because he's gotten into some other types of opportunities that involve like graphic design and stuff. But honestly, he's not a designer. And so far, I think he's now at what, $180,000 at the time of this podcast in terms of lifetime earnings. And so, but I wanted to let you know that each of these 4 people took our Profit by Design Academy training, which is a course, our signature course, and they took coaching. And they got coaching, either one-on-one or masterminds or something. And so actually, as part of this 50th episode, we wanted to take this time, because it's such a special episode, to announce that we have a new program which involves bringing the coaching and the Profit by Design Academy, which is our signature course that works for so many people, and bring them together as one. So this is so exciting. Because that's all I can say, is because these other people took so much time and effort to come to so many other trainings, and all of this is going to be put in this one to get you to 6 figures, which is really cool.
Yep.
So anyway, so that's Brandon. He started out in photography, moved. He's not a designer. And what he's doing, and I'm going to say about what everybody's doing so that you can understand that it's not all about weddings.
Yeah.
Right? So Brandon, he's done everyday items, and he's done some celebrations, but he's really focused in on just the simple stuff. And so people forget that and that's actually how I make my money, is I don't really do very many occasions and things. I'm just doing things that I like to do, and I know that there's a need for them.
Yeah.
And so that's really important. Now, Susan, she is she came to us when she was almost 2 years from retiring, and she said, I want to have fun in retirement. I don't want to work.
Yeah.
And and she's been working really hard on her Zazzle business when she came to us, and she said, like, I can't keep this pace up if I want to retire and still make the money I want to make. And so we said, okay, Profit by Design Academy, take that. And then she took a little bit of our mentorings, which is now what's going to be called the coaching program. And because of that, within a 2-year period, she'd made like over $40,000. And then she's just about in November of 2020, she said she hit 100,000, and she just keeps going. And she said that she's been enjoying her retirement and working very few hours on that. And she's also she's all over the place. She's got home decor and electronics and occasions and things like that, but she is a designer. So I want you to know that this is a mixture of people who are designers and who are not designers. And so you don't have to be creative to learn how to do this. You just have to learn what to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best part about Zazzle, right?
Yeah. And then also for anybody who's listening to the podcast, when we mean by designer and non-designer, it's like Photoshop versus, not really having any experience in graphic design. You don't really have any, as Milka said, you're not very creative. It's just more so that you want to build a business that works. And we have a whole mixture of people like that, who some people are artists in our community, they're photographers, they are graphic designers, and then other people like Brandon, he is a photographer, but he wasn't very artistic in terms of being like extremely creative with Photoshop. He just wanted to learn the business side of things, and he knew what he needed to implement to make it work. And so if you're sitting here and listening to this podcast and thinking, oh, well, I'm not an artist or I'm not a graphic designer, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to be successful on Zazzle. As we always mention, we can't make any income plan statements, but even if you aren't like artistic, if that makes sense, it does not mean that you're not able to open up a Zazzle business. It just means that you need to learn how to use the design tool, and then use the in-house like design options on Zazzle, because you don't need to have Photoshop, you don't need to have fancy programs or graphic designs to make money.
And you can also buy graphics, right? That you can license properly and use as commercial use graphics.
Yeah.
So there's so many opportunities that you can explore. And of course, we teach all that in the Profit by Design Academy. Yeah. And so Stacy, who's next on my list here, she is someone we don't talk about too much, but we do have to celebrate her every once in a while because she's a very private person. She doesn't really want to be, in the limelight and so on. But she also just reached 100,000 in total lifetime earnings, and so we just want to give her a shout out. And she does do mostly occasions and weddings, but she came to us because she was always on the treadmill of what do I have to do next in terms of the next biggest craze in holidays or next biggest craze in weddings. And so what we've done with her is really taught her how to have a core group of products that are going to allow her to take a breather once in a while. She doesn't always have to be working so hard at everything to keep up. And because there's this myth in the Zazzle marketplace and with all the designers, that you have to do weddings or occasions in order to make money, but it's actually the opposite. It may seem like the quickest cash grab, but it's not truly the way you can set up a long-term passive income that gets you to 6-7 figures. And so that's really, really important for you to hear if you're listening to this podcast. So if you're doing any multitasking, come back to me and to Jen right now, because that was a really important point. We'll repeat this. You can't keep chasing the next biggest thing in order to have a long-term passive income that gets you to 6 and 7 figures.
No, it's very true.
Yeah. So, and then let's talk about Christine. You could take on Christine.
Okay, so Christine is a lovely lady. She is now the woman that Elka mentioned who made $100,000 in 2020, just alone in that year. And it wasn't because she sold a lot of face masks or did anything with COVID. It was because she built up her business and made it work for her. And she actually also has everyday items. So she doesn't do occasions. She touches it in a bit here and there, but she's actually mostly just any type of everyday item that you could sell. And that is sort of personalized or customizable on Zazzle. And she has built up her Zazzle business to make her that amount of money, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And she also didn't have any sort of design skills. Every time we go on a private call with her, because she's one of our private coaching clients too, she's like, I'm not very creative. I don't even like put too much effort into it. I just kind of know what works, and then this is what I need to do, and that's it, right? And she treats it definitely as a business and makes sure that everything that she does is strategic, because she also has a very time-consuming day job, and she's not able to work on Zazzle all the time. So she has a very limited time amount, like certain hours during the week where she's able to dedicate that to working on Zazzle. And so she uses her time really efficiently and effectively, because obviously she doesn't have any more time than that. And so she is very hardworking, and she loves learning new things, and she's always very attentive in terms of like absorbing the information that we give her. And so what we tell her is just what she needs to do. And she's very strict and strategic with that. And so that's why she's been able to scale her business so fast, because previously she wasn't making that much money, right?
No, she made $32 actually in 2 years on her own. And actually she thought that was a cool amount of money, because as for not doing too much on Zazzle, selling a couple of products, because she lives in the Philippines, right? So that actually is like around a monthly wage.
Yeah.
And so she already thought she was in heaven when she was making $130. And now then when she heard that others were making more, she goes like, I got to get into this, and I have to learn more as to how to do this. So
yeah. No, it's very true. It was really cute.
So
She's
sweetheart.
like, I
So
thought that
check
this
out.
was
Yeah. Oh,
a
sorry.
lot.
Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say that it was really cute how she thought that, as you said, $130 was like a lot of money for her. And I mean, it definitely is a lot of money, but
of course.
But now that she's making so much more money, she never really thought that it was even possible, right?
Yeah, she's like in the uber rich in terms of, which is cool. And actually, we're going to reference this in the show notes, but we're going to reference you back to Brandon's podcast and Christine's podcast that we did, where we spoke about them, just like one person, one podcast. And so you'll get a lot more out of that. And Christine was actually on live, and so you'll hear her say that exactly.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was shocked even when she said it, because it was just, it really put things into perspective. We're always just, keep reaching for more, and we forget that we have to be grateful for what we have, and just celebrate the achievements as they come along. All right, so how do you get to these 7 figures in sales on Zazzle? And remember, and this is another time where I'm going to do this, just in case you weren't listening the first time, we cannot make any income claim statements.
Yeah.
And it's all up to you, whether people in our courses and training, if they take it, they may not make anything. But it really depends on what you do with the training and how you implement things into your business and what you take on as ownership of your business. And even then, if you work really hard, you may not make any money. So I have to be really clear on that, because this is important for you to understand. But when you go into it that way, there are certain business principles that we are going to talk about now as to how that happens, like how you can create a successful business that do work. They just may not work on the first try, or they may not work the way you implemented the information. You have to try it a different way. And that's, I think, that the key with some of these top students that we're just talked about is that they didn't give up, and they didn't just go like, okay, I did it once and it didn't work, I gave up, or start getting into the negative space of, well, you told me this would work and now it's not working. It's like, no, they never went that way. They always said, okay, well, if it didn't work this way, how can I try it another way, using the same strategies and the same foundational principles that Jen and Elka use in their business.
Yeah.
And I think that's the if nothing else, if you get out of the podcast, is that you have to make sure that you don't blame others. You have to decide on how you are going to approach what happens in your business, and how you're going to keep going and not give up and look for new ways to try things, or using, as I said, you're not looking for a new way in a sense that you're trying to create your own strategies. It's just that maybe your strategies that the way you implemented the strategies that we're going to talk about are ones that you didn't quite hit the mark, if that makes sense. And that's the big learning that we learned as we've started doing this, because it only took us I think it took us 5 or 6 years to really come up with the strategies to say, okay, now out of all the things that didn't work or only half worked, these are the strategies, right? And if you don't do these, then definitely it won't work.
Yeah.
That we can guarantee. But if you do them and they still don't work, it doesn't mean that they don't work. It means that you have yet to do the things necessary in your niche, or deliver on the design, or, the time of year, like when COVID hit or something like that. If you hadn't implemented all of these strategies properly, then you suffered, right? Whereas Christine, of course, she had it implemented properly, and she really thrived during 2020. And actually all of these students thrived during 2020. It's just Christine, we like talking about her because she made 100,000 in 1 year. It's like, good for you, girl. Yeah. Okay, so that's my little speech to make sure that you understand completely that we can't make any income claim statements, but by combining the Profit by Design Academy training, which covers the 5 strategies, doing something called a business training, which helps you understand the management side of things, to talk about the 3 pillars: perceivable, passive, profitable, and then to also get coaching. That's like the trifecta. That's the thing that comes together, and it's just the ultimate way that you can get that support and the training and the roadmap you need in order to at least give it a good shot. Okay, that's all I can say about that. So let's move into the 5 strategies. You want to just list them, and then we can start talking.
So the
about
5 strategies are establish, create, announce, align, and analyze. And analyze. And so the first one, establish, is where everything starts, right? You're establishing your business and you're creating the foundations, right? And you're understanding how to start out properly. Because a lot of Zazzle designers, when they first started on Zazzle, myself included, and also Elka, is that you think that you're like, know what you're doing, and you just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna open up a Zazzle business or a Zazzle store, and then you just start like doing whatever, right? All over the place. And there are actually strategic action steps that you need to take at the beginning of when you first start, so that you're not actually like backstepping or going back and fixing things that will create problems for you going on in the future. And myself included, like in terms of like choosing the proper store name and setting up your store properly and doing your categories properly. And there's so much more that goes into it, obviously, but when you first start out, there's a lot of things that need to be done so that you don't make mistakes or you have to fix things later on in the future.
I agree. Yeah, it also brings in the 3 pillars, which are the other things that we talk about, was that you have to create that foundation for your business. And, people call it foundation or framework or something, and it's supporting your business. And so in a big business, like if you were to look at any big corporation that's doing really well wherever you buy something from or whatever, then they have structure in place. They have a business plan. They have, a product that sells well. They have the people that sell the product. They have the people that make the product. They have, all the components of a business. And when we as entrepreneurs move into the entrepreneurial space from our 9-to-5 job, we forget that those things need to be in place, right? We're not just going to step in as the worker again, because when we're in our day job, we just need to be the worker, right? We just need one piece of that puzzle. Whereas if you're in your own entrepreneurial business, all of a sudden you have to have all the pieces in the puzzle working at the same time, and they're actually holding this whole business up. So if you don't have the 3 pillars set up properly, then you're not going to establish your business very well. And those pillars obviously continue to keep working as your business grows. And you keep developing them and building them, but the pillars, let's just build on those for a minute, because they're really part of establish. So perceivable is the first one, passive is the second one, and profitable is the third one. Sorry. So the first, as being perceivable, means that you can believe with all your heart that this is going to work for you. Right? But that's just one component. The second component is you have to get rid of all the mindset issues that you have in around becoming an entrepreneur and also making money and being successful. So check the podcast out, podcast number 49, that I'm also going to link to the show notes, where I talk about this in much more detail.
Yeah.
And I've also got some action steps for you to take so that you can actually, figure out how to start setting those pillars up for yourself in your business. Then the second one is passive. This one's easier because Zazzle's already a passive business model. The problem is that when we come into the Zazzle marketplace and start trying to sell, we're no longer passively trying to sell, because we're so actively building and creating products and throwing so many things out there and, doing social media and doing websites and doing this. And so it's not really passive for us. It's passive in the sense that someone could buy something while you're sleeping. But what about having less hours to work so that you can really just enjoy your life? And that's what we teach in the Profit by Design Academy. Yeah. All of these students that are now the top sellers and best students in our programs are actually the ones that have switched, made sure that they don't go over their 20 hours a month. Mm-hmm. Literally saying, if this is going to work, it's got to work in my new normal. And that normal is, don't work so hard. Let Zazzle do the work. Let my products do the work, because they're the ones that are supposed to be the workers, not you. Mm-hmm. Right? So 20 hours a month should really be your limit. And in the Profit by Design Academy, we show you how to break that up so that you do 20 hours a month, which is really something that people have a lot of trouble. They trip over it. Their mindset just can't compute that. It's like, wait a minute. But it's all about creating that passive income mentality rather than I'm getting dollars for the hours I work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that if you can check out the other episode, number 49, you'll be able to understand more about what that passive aspect is in terms of that one pillar. And then the profitable pillar is the one that I love the most, because it's like, okay, even if you work only 20 hours and even if you put 100 products up a month, if you don't actually make money doing that, then you are not set up as a profitable business. Yeah. That's when you're still a hobbyist, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you can't figure out that as to how to make it profitable, then it's a problem. You're just going to get very frustrated. So the Profit by Design Academy and our coaching and the training that we do, actually 3 days worth of training that we do to help you understand the perceivable, passive, profitable pillars, that helps you understand what's needed to keep looking at your business, assessing how much work you do, how many hours you do it in, if you're efficient in those hours, are you doing the right things, are you targeting the right markets, the whole thing. And that then allows you to understand what it takes to become profitable, which is the whole goal of your business, right? You don't want to work as much, but you want to make more money. And so that's where we want to set you up. And if you get set up initially in the establish phase, which is strategy number 1, with these 3 pillars and all the other things that Jen talked about, including skill sets, right? You have to learn how to work the Zazzle marketplace. Yeah. Then it just really sets you up properly for success. Even though you may not be making as much money yet, you've done all the legwork, all the groundwork, and then you can feel really good moving forward. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's what I want to say about establish, and I actually tied in the pillars to that. So what about create, which is our second strategy?
Create is our second strategy, and this is where the creation comes into process. So learning about production, strategy, and learning how to actually create the products and create the designs and do them properly too. Because on Zazzle, a lot of Zazzle designers think that they just need to have a really good design, but that's one component of it. It's not only the design, it's the titles and tags, the proper categories, the collections, everything that goes into making a product and creating that, the flow and the proper, I want to say, placement in the marketplace, and making sure that it's all working for you. Because even if you have an amazing design, but you don't title and tag it properly, or you don't put it in the right category, then a lot of your customers will be lost, and you're just basically losing money because you're not allowing the customer to find you, right? And so it's sort of like a little bit of the summary of what Create is, but it's so much more than just titles and tags. It's the whole thing in terms of the creation of your Zazzle products and your store and your niche and like your avatar and everything that goes into what is behind actually making those products and posting them for sale, right?
Because people like it when we make this analogy that the products on Zazzle that you make are your workers. You're the boss, and your products are your workers. And if they're sitting there idle because they're not making a sale, then then you haven't given them the right tools to be an effective seller. And that means either the design or, as Jen said, the titles and tags, or how they're positioned in the marketplace or even promoted. But we'll get to that in number 3.
Yeah.
So that's really important that you understand that you're creating not only your products individually, but you're also creating an inventory of products that can work for you, not just present time, but also year after year. Because you want to create a passive, remember that pillar, that second pillar, you want to create a passive inventory that's giving you passive income while you don't have to work. So Jen and I, we have so many products that we made back in 2008, 2009, 2000.
Yeah, and they're still making us money.
They're still making us money. So work once, get paid lots of times is the motto with regards to setting up your creation strategy properly.
Yeah.
Okay, announce. This one's cool. I like this one because you're actually already overlapping with create. Because if you do a really good job of your titles and tags, then you are already announcing things properly. Because it's being found not only in the Zazzle marketplace, but your product's also being found on Google. And then if you just do one more little tiny thing, pin to Pinterest, then you can actually also have your products floating around on the Pinterest marketplace or platform. And so you've got 3 places where you all of a sudden have exposure for each of your products to have that customer find your product and come and buy it.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. Now, some people go much deeper, and our training covers so many different things in the Profit by Design Academy. Instagram, we don't do Facebook as much anymore.
Website as well.
But website and also lots in Pinterest. And the idea here is not to go crazy and be on so many different platforms, but just the basics, and make sure that when you're doing something on those platforms to promote, you're actually also effectively announcing, effectively promoting, because just pinning your products to Pinterest is great, but then if you go one step further and pin a lot of your products again that are your popular products in different ways, you're going to attract more attention. And so you'll get more levels and levels of marketing under your belt that will allow you to have your customer find you more often and give you a higher chance of selling.
Yep.
So there we go. Now, align. Do you want to do align?
Oh, you go for it.
Okay. Well, align means that, listen, we're running a business, but we're not just replacing our 9-to-5 with another 9-to-5. We are here to create a business of your dreams that allows you to make the income that you want, doing what you love, but not working as hard, because you've got a whole other system. It's a Zazzle platform. It's not your it's not the job that you left. It's not a physical job. It's not an office job. It's a job where you are the boss, and you're setting up your company properly and setting up your workers properly so that then you can take off and do stuff.
Yeah.
Jen and I, we barely work anymore on our Zazzle businesses, but it's still generating the income that we want.
Because we set it up properly.
Exactly. And if we want to work, if we want to add more things, we want to increase our income, we can. But if we don't want to, we're just happy with what we have right now and the consistent income that we're getting. And that's another reason why you have to set up your business in such a way that it's very controlled and strategic, because we can literally, at this point, because of the way we've set ours up, that we can literally predict what we're going to be making next month and the month after. And even during COVID, we didn't have any drop in income. It stayed the same because we are leveraged in such a way strategically that our products are kind of bulletproof, right? They sell no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's the holy grail of being able to be on the Zazzle platform and making the money that you want to make without always having to chase things. Just like when we talked about Stacy, that she had to keep working so hard to always keep up with the trends. And what we teach in our Profit by Design Academy is to generate evergreen products. And so that evergreen product strategy allows us to and you to align your business objectives, right? You want to make more money, but work less.
Yep.
And you want it to be a passive business. So it means that if you set up your Zazzle business correctly, then you can continue to align with your core values of how you want to have your life look like in the future, instead of it being a 9 to 5 and someone else is taking up all the time that you have.
Yeah.
So location, location freedom, time freedom, and what's the other one? Income freedom, because you now are making the money you want. Even if if you were back in your old job and your 9 to 5 job and your boss said, sorry, we're only doing, inflation increases in salary and you need more money, that's all you can do, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in the Zazzle marketplace, you can literally, if you have the ability and the strategies set up properly, you can literally decide to make more money and put it into place quite quickly, so that you can actually increase your income, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Again, no, we can't make any income claim statement, so make sure you understand that. But we have our business set up in such a way now that we can literally do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so last strategy, assess. And actually you said analyze.
Analyze. It is analyze or
It
assess.
is it's analyze. I wrote down assess on our little note sheet here. So so that one is really, really important, because you have to know what the heck is going on in your business. If you don't, you'll not know whether or not you're profitable.
Yeah.
But even more than that, you're not going to catch those opportunities that are going to actually make your business better.
Yeah.
And most of us are afraid to look at our numbers. Speaking of which, because they were worried that they weren't doing enough or making enough money. But instead, if you look at your numbers, you have more control. And it's the scary part is you think you don't know what you can do with your numbers, but that's what we teach you in the coaching and in the Profit by Design Academy training.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, wow, people go like, okay, I was always afraid of numbers, and you've helped me get through that. And that's the really important, because that's what a business is all about, right? If it wasn't about the numbers, it would be a hobby.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm also going to link to a couple of other podcasts where we go deeper into each of these strategies as well. So you're just going to have a ton of podcasts that you're going to listen to in addition to this one. It makes sense because it's our 50th. It's like, this is a summary. Look how far all our students have come. Let's just brag just a little bit, because it's awesome.
Yeah.
I just love that everyone's so successful. I love that people are like smiling rather than being frustrated or down about the fact that they can't do it. And yeah, I just love that.
Oh, it's amazing.
So we'll link to give you some more details about each of these strategies as well, so that you can just get started and understand what this is all about.
Yeah.
And of course, we want you to join, if you can, in the program. And that is why we are doing this 50th episode, because we're really excited, because we want you to know that as of this launch date, this is coming out on the 6th of July. We're pre-recording this, obviously, but by then we have actually just launched the Profit by Design Academy coaching program.
Yeah.
And that is now the new normal. There is no other training that's available. We've really pared down, because we've taken everything that's been good about the other courses and trainings that we've done and stuffed that into this Profit by Design Academy coaching program, and anything that wasn't working, we just got rid of. And so we're really excited to be able to share this with you. We're so excited you can enroll anytime.
Yeah.
And you can just get started right away.
Yep.
Okay. And so that's it. We're so excited about that.
That we're
So
extremely
please
excited.
join us. Consider that. The link is in the show notes. It's not a pitch. It's just, guess what? We have taken all these things that people have used to become successful in Zazzle. We now have a lot of proof that this works. So what do you want to do? You want to slide in with this and just take off and see how far you can go on the Zazzle platform and do your own business and create your dream life. And if that's the case, then this Profit by Design Academy coaching program is exactly what you need.
Yes.
And we're so excited to be able to launch this, because it's you're going to listen to it, and the next day it's going to be starting. And if you're listening to this much later, don't worry, you can join anytime.
Yep.
Just figure out that, just go click on the link in the show notes and you'll be set to go.
Yes.
And we'd be so excited to have you in the coaching program.
Yeah. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Creative Ambitious Entrepreneur Podcast, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.